Welcome to today's Explainer. We're jumping right into a story that is, frankly, going to hit close to home for a lot of you. We are unpacking a highly relatable and incredibly emotional narrative pulled straight from our source material. We'll be looking at a journey of overcoming childhood neglect, the absolute grit it takes to build a life from scratch, and honestly, the undeniable power of drawing some really hard boundaries as an adult. It's a fascinating look at how we define family, how we view success, and ultimately who gets access to our lives.
I was just a ghost in his house. Wow. Let that single sentence sink in for a second, because it perfectly sets the emotional baseline for our narrator's entire upbringing. Think about the word ghost here. A ghost is present in a room, sure, but they're totally invisible. They aren't engaged with, they aren't nurtured, and they aren't truly seen by the living. This isn't just about lacking physical stuff, it's about a complete, devastating absence of emotional acknowledgement from a father. It really frames the entire environment this person was forced to navigate before they even had a say in the matter.
So let's get right into Section 1, the ghost in the house, or the baseline of neglect. You know, this kind of disparity breeds a really profound sense of isolation. It's one thing to have nothing, right? It's another thing entirely to sit at the exact same dinner table and watch the people next to you get absolutely everything while you're treated like thin air. We've got this stark comparison happening under one roof. On one side, the father's new family, the stepmom and her kids, are receiving what the text literally calls the everything. We're talking family vacations, celebrated birthdays, all those standard markers of a happy childhood. And on the other side, the narrator, completely sidelined, just left holding the short straw. That brings us to Section 2, the cardboard box departure. This is the real catalyst of the story.
18. It's a huge milestone, but let's be real, it represents an incredibly vulnerable time for any young person. You're legally an adult, sure, but practically speaking, you are just stepping out into the world. You usually need guidance, support, and some kind of safety net as you figure out your life. But this specific age is the exact moment the father decided his minimal obligations were officially over, which makes his next move not just abrupt, but deeply, deeply devastating.
The moment they were pushed out of the nest was intentionally brutal. The source material lays it out. The father handed the narrator a literal cardboard box, looked them dead in the eye, and basically said, "You're officially on your own." There was no secret college fund waiting. There wasn't even a basic human good luck out there. Just absolutely nothing. It perfectly captures the absolute zero this person was forced to start their adult life from. I mean, it wasn't a launch pad, it was an eviction. Moving on to Section 3, building from the ground. Let's talk about the hustle. Now, the source notes the narrator simply states, "Well, I survived." But look at the grueling, unglamorous timeline it actually took to achieve that survival. Working 2 jobs at once, putting themselves through school without a dime of help, building a business from the absolute ground up. And finally, finding real personal joy by meeting an incredible partner and getting engaged. This progression is huge because it highlights a massive gap. Years of relentless hustle, late nights, and stress, all happening while the father was entirely out of the picture. The foundation of this life was poured entirely by the narrator. And all of that relentless sweat equity, it culminated in this beautiful milestone, an engagement party that's described in the text as the most beautiful, exclusive event you could imagine. But listen, this isn't just a party, it's a profound symbol. It represents a life, a community, and a success built completely on their own terms. After starting with literally nothing but a cardboard box, they've cultivated this life of abundance. They went from being the ghost in the house to the host of their own spectacular life.
But of course, that brings us to Section 4, the unearned VIP pass, the conflict.
Social media. It is the ultimate double-edged sword of our modern world, isn't it? Posting a simple milestone inadvertently acts as a magnet. The narrator posts these beautiful engagement photos online, which is a totally normal life update. But doing that unintentionally invites ghosts from the past right back into the present. Suddenly, out of the blue, the father, the guy who handed over the cardboard box years ago, is triggered to reach out via text. It just goes to show how visible success can suddenly draw out people who literally had zero interest in your struggles.
Okay, let the sheer entitlement of this text message sink in for a moment. So proud of you, kiddo. A term of endearment he never earned. Can't wait for my invitation. Just a total assumption of access. And the absolute kicker. It's about time we put the past behind us. The source material frames this so perfectly. He's suddenly cheerful and demanding access after years of total absence. He's trying to casually wave away an entire childhood of neglect and an 18th birthday eviction like it was just some minor misunderstanding that they both need to move on from. No way.
And notice the massive foundational psychological shift right here. The text explicitly points out that staring at that phone, a younger version of the narrator would have cried. The ghost in the house would have been completely shattered by this manipulation. But today's narrator, they just smiled. And that smile, that is the ultimate armor. The trauma and vulnerability of that 18-year-old kid has been completely replaced by the secure, unbothered confidence of a self-made adult. The father's text just doesn't hold power anymore, because the narrator knows exactly what their own reality is actually worth.
Which brings us to the finale, Section 5, Keeping the Doors Locked. The resolution.
This right here is a masterclass in boundary setting. Sorry, but we're keeping the guest list strictly limited to the people who actually helped me get here. I mean, it's polite, it's direct, and it cuts right to the absolute core of the issue. This response proves a vital lesson from the source text. Biological relation absolutely does not grant you automatic access to someone's success if you weren't there for the struggle. The narrator is fiercely protecting their sanctuary, right? Only allowing entry to the people who actually showed up during the difficult climb.
And then, the physical action that seals the deal. They blocked his number. Done. With that one single decisive action, the narrator effectively locked the door on the toxicity for good. There was no drawn-out argument. There was no exhausting attempt to make the father understand the pain he caused. Actually, scratch that. It's more like they realized he was never going to understand anyway. Just a simple digital action, and access is permanently revoked.
It's like the father treated his child's life like a VIP club. Think about how a VIP club operates. People want to skip the line, they want to skip the cover charge, and they just want to walk right into the exclusive perks and the good times. The father fully expected to skip the grueling everyday work of actual parenting, the emotional support, the financial help, the basic kindness, and just stroll right into the joyous, successful culmination of his child's hard-earned life.
But here is a fundamental truth about relationships. It is entirely acceptable to deny access to those who offer nothing but conditional love. When someone shows you that they only value you once you've proven your worth to the outside world, you have every right to keep that metaphorical door shut. The narrator didn't owe their father a seat at the table just because he finally decided the table looked nice enough to sit at. Some doors stay locked forever, and for good reason.
So as we wrap up this explainer, I want to leave you with this final, provocative thought to reflect on your own boundaries. Look at the people surrounding you right now. Who was there holding the flashlight while you were working in the dark, and who is just standing outside the velvet rope waiting for their unearned invitation to the party? Remember, you hold the guest list to your own life. Thank you so much for joining me for this deep dive into such a compelling piece of source material. Keep learning, keep reflecting, and we'll see you next time.